I was listening to the story it was a story of a family in Washington, and the little boy called the Bigfoot the Cowboy Man. And he had, apparently it had made an effort to steal this kid. And it hit me. My children were in that playpen behind me with nothing but a mosquito net over them. It could have crept up behind me and taken both of my children, and I wouldn't have known.
Father just got like a Mustang or something from Wyoming, okay? He had it out in the corral because he couldn't put it in the barn in the stalls with the other horses. It would kick and made all the other horses nervous. Had a Seminole Indian working the horse trying to break it every day. So they had it out in the corral. This skunk ape snuck up behind this horse and grabbed it on its hind quarters. This particular horse kicks out, jumps over the corral, runs into the pasture, to get away. At this point, the rancher's out there just blasted away with the dirty. Skunk ape runs into the swamp.
I went up there one day after that, or 2 days after that. I went up there and sat in the silence up there, and I'm telling you, man, it was free. It was crazy. There was a crazy vibe up there still. I did what I could to kind of get things under control, but I told her, I said, you need to get off this property. I feel like no matter how strong you are, it's almost like standing in the ocean. You can't stand still without moving your feet. You're going to get knocked over eventually, no matter how strong, whatever. You can't withstand a barrage of weird spiritual energy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Paranormal Odyssey Live. Lisa, how's it going, ma'am?
Good. Trying to stay warm here in Arkansas, but all good. All good.
Good deal. Took a break last week. Warned you guys I was going on a little bit of a birthday camping adventure. We'll talk a little bit about that in a minute, but it was a good time. Want to thank everybody for all of the birthday wishes. I sure do appreciate that. Got a great guest lined up for today, but before we get there, let's do all this fun stuff. If y'all haven't done so already, you're here for the first time, please hit that subscribe button. We certainly would appreciate it. If you've had an encounter and like to come on and share on an episode with us, either Lisa and I or on the podcast, first step to doing that is shooting me an email, wayne@paranormalworldproductions.com. Be happy to talk to you about that. Also, still got my Bigfoot research group, Manimal Research, the Facebook group, still going strong over there. If you are not a member and would like some information about getting out and doing some research or becoming a member, or you just want to join the group and see what all we're talking about, you are welcome to. Head over to Facebook and search Manimal Research. We'd love to have you. Also want to ask everyone to please go check out our website, paranormalworldproductions.com. Show some support not only for this show, Paranormal Odyssey, but Brian's shows, Sasquatch Odyssey and True Crime Odyssey. Brian is killing it as always.
Oh, yeah.
Brian earlier, he flew out to he might kill me for saying this, but he's going to be appearing in a documentary coming up, and he flew out to do some shooting today.
Awesome.
I don't know if I was supposed to mention that. Sorry, buddy.
Well, we didn't mention the name of it, so
yeah,
we're good.
Yeah, not giving any details to it. He can do that when he's ready.
Exactly.
Yeah, Brian's a hell of a guy. He deserves everything that comes to him. All right, as I was saying, got a great guest lined up today. Got Mr. Elijah Henderson from the Cryptid Studies Institute coming. I can say coming back. I'm going to speak to Elijah a little bit about this a little more when he comes on. But he and his dad, Johnny Henderson, were a couple of my very first guests, either second, third, or fourth guest that we ever had back in, I think, 2019 or 2020. I think it was 2020. Early 2020, like February. They were a couple of our very first guests, and Elijah has agreed to come back and talk. So Elijah knows that there might be some questions coming his way. you guys feel free to shoot them to him. But if you do, make it a little bit easier on Lisa if you will put them in all caps.
Please.
Make any, ask any question that you want. And obviously, we're going to be respectful. We never have a problem with that on this show.
Mm-mm.
But put them in all caps so Lisa can get to them easier. We would appreciate that. All right, Lisa, what's been going on with you, ma'am? How you doing?
Oh, just getting ready to do a film the end of April into May. So we've been getting locations and stuff for that. Taxes, which that's always a big pain.
Yeah,
And that's about it. Just kind of the calm before the crazy storm right
yeah,
now.
yeah. I certainly understand that. Yeah, we went out this past weekend for my birthday camp out. I tried to upload some pictures. They didn't go through. Just one of them came through here. That was the view of where we were. I couldn't. It's not a very good shot, but
Oh, that's pretty.
yeah, we were way, way up there in North Georgia. Had very, very interesting night Saturday night. We comfortable saying there was something out there. It was myself and Walls and another one of our members, Greg. We went out for a late hike, just went walking down the road. It was, I guess, about 11, 12 o'clock, something like that. And Walls did a couple of whistles. He did a couple of calls and didn't get anything. We went up the road a little while and cut the lights off and went dark and went silent for a couple minutes. And he did a couple whistles, and it's like he invited something. We started getting noises all around us. Started hearing a metallic sound. I had commented on it before. It's like we're in the middle of this WMA. There's no metal. It's all woods, and it sounds like an old. Your mind's eye. You see someone pushing a kid on an old rusty swing.
Oh, wow.
That's what you hear out there, and this is the only place we've ever heard that sound, and standing in almost the exact same spot. I don't know what it was. I mean, there could be an answer for it. There could be something out in the woods, some piece of metal that we don't know about. The wind could be blowing it. We don't know. But we heard that. We heard a couple of grunt sounds and started to head back. And I believe we saw our first orb.
Oh, wow. How far were you from the battlefield where y'all were at?
Uh, as the crow flies, not very. Probably just a few miles, but driving less than 30 minutes.
So I wonder if that road y'all were walking down was maybe like an old Civil War trail, or maybe
Very possible.
because
Very
that
possible.
was a big battle around there where you were at.
Yeah, that was it. If I'm not mistaken, it was the bloodiest battle of the Civil War.
Yeah, I
If
think so.
not,
Next to Gettysburg, I think it was.
yeah, if not the one of the bloodiest battles of
Yeah.
the Civil War. And there's definitely some spooky stuff that goes on at the battlefield. You and I were talking about that before we came on. But yeah, again, I can't say for sure, but there were lights out in the woods that should not be there. There were no campsites out in the direction that we were seeing this light. It was kind of an orangish white light, just looked like a ball floating.
Hmm.
I don't know what it could have been. It was creepy. We'll ask Elijah if he's got any experience with orbs or what he thinks about that.
Cool.
All right. Got Sandra Piper. How you doing, ma'am? Thank you for hanging out. Carson, as always. Thank you, buddy. Damian K. Appreciate it. My buddy Kevin.
Yeah, I saw that question. I was going to let you handle that one.
Oh, oh, that's an inside
Okay.
thing. Kevin, act right, buddy. Kevin's one of them that was on the group. He was too lazy to come on the that night investigation that we went on. But he did get some trail cam pictures that we'll be sharing here pretty soon.
Yeah, he just said he's got some on the trail cam. So I would bet just being that close to that much energy of that battlefield, I mean, there's got to be orbs all over the place down there.
Yeah, there's something going on. That's for certain.
Yeah.
All right, we've been on for about 10 minutes now, and I think it's about time we get our guest out. What do you think?
I agree.
All right, everybody, let's welcome Mr. Elijah Henderson to the show.
Hello, y'all. How you doing?
Hey,
Doing well.
Elijah.
Doing well, buddy. Thank you for taking the time and coming to hang out. I appreciate it.
It's no problem, and I'd just like to start by saying happy belated birthday.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I certainly appreciate that. Yeah, I was talking a little bit before, and I mentioned it to you in our messages back and forth that I remember very fondly you and your late father, Johnny, who had recently passed away. Y'all were a couple of my very first guests that came on, and I was so impressed by not only the knowledge that you and your dad had, but your dad grew up in the town that I had just moved from, so we knew a lot of the same areas, same people and stuff. But I was impressed with how nice he was to me, how he had all this, you guys have all this experience in the community. I was just starting out. I was green as green could be, didn't know much of anything, but y'all didn't treat me that way. And I was very, very appreciative of that, especially your dad, Johnny. And I relayed that to you, but I wanted to do it again. I really appreciate that.
Well, brother, I really appreciate that myself. He always prided himself on being a gentleman, and I try to follow in his footsteps and do the same thing.
Yeah, everybody I talk to, it sounds like you're doing a good job. I think you're friends with one of the members of my group, Mr. Bobby Sledge. You know him?
Oh, Bobby Sledge is great.
Yeah.
He comes up here. They have a annual Land Between the Lakes Bigfoot conference of sorts. Everybody gets around the campfire and shoots the breeze. That's where I met him, and yeah, it was the last one I seen him at because I got stuck in LBL. My car got stuck off on some horrible backwoods trail. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I love Bobby.
Yeah, he's a really good guy. He is. He's a part of my group, Manimal Research. He gets out with us in camps and does all that good stuff. He's a great guy.
I was wondering if y'all were still active. I seen the name Manimal every now and again, but since you were doing the Paranormal Odyssey, I wasn't sure if you were still doing Manimal or not.
Yeah, we went on an expedition. Well, I just talked about it. My birthday one. It was full of Manimal members. It was a birthday thing, more or less, but we took the opportunity to get out and do some research as a
Oh, that's
group.
awesome, man.
Yeah. All right, Elijah, just tell everybody, those that aren't familiar with Cryptid Studies Institute, what exactly it is and how long you guys been around.
Well, Cryptid Studies Institute was the brainchild of my dad, Johnny Henderson, and we've been doing the channel for a couple of years now. What we like to do is we make this documentary series called Nightmare Nuggets of Cryptid Terror, or if it's something of more of a paranormal nature, supernatural, Nightmare Nuggets of Supernatural Suspense. And we go to the location where something happened or supposedly transpired. We go on site, people can see the landscape, get an idea of what the area looked like, and we do a documentary on it. Our most popular, I believe, is our work on Land Between the Lakes, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Kentucky. It goes over both. But we do quite a bit of work over there as we live about an hour away from it, maybe a little less. We go a lot to Werewolf Springs, Tennessee, over in Dixon County, Kentucky, close to the Bell Witch area, about 20 minutes or so. So I've been there off and on since I was a little boy. So, obviously we do videos on that and whatnot. So we try to hit a lot of the stuff close by us. And as you mentioned, my dad comes from Ray County, Tennessee, over in East Tennessee. So there's a lot of stories that came out of there, and we like to make documentaries out of stuff from that region as well. So that's really our main focus of what we do. We try to get in the woods, do investigations and whatnot when we can. And man, I guess that's about it right now.
Yeah, yeah, very, very well said. You mentioned your dad being from Ray County and the documentaries you do. Y'all have been up to the Pocket Wilderness up in Dayton, right?
Pocket Wilderness is one of my favorite places on earth. The one of the park rangers, I actually have him on video, but I can't upload it because it'd get him in trouble.
I know.
But one of the park rangers, we have him on audio recording, telling us that there are Bigfoot in his park. That people see them, and they'll tell him about it. There's and I'm sure you're very well familiar with this. There's an old mining ventilation shaft down the trail, and he said that people have come up to him multiple times and told him they seen a Sasquatch coming up out of that ventilation shaft. And late in the night, people have claimed to hear like little kids. I think it was little kids giggling around that ventilation shaft. And ma'am, I'm sorry. I haven't spoke to you yet. Hello, Lisa. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm just taking this all in, and it sounds like the land between the lakes, which I'm in Arkansas. That place sounds so amazing. I cannot
Cool.
wait to go there. Can't wait.
It's got a little bit of something for everybody. If you like supernatural things, there's supernatural things there. If you're more into Bigfoot, there's Bigfoot. If you prefer dogman research, there's dogman research. It's a veritable cornucopia of oddities.
Yeah, I just when I started this, I threw my manners completely out the window, and I just didn't even think about introducing you to. I apologize for that.
Oh no, it's all good. I was just taking it all in. So where is this location you're talking about right now?
Pocket Wilderness.
Yes.
It's in my dad's old hometown, Dayton, Tennessee, which I'm actually sort of in the midst of packing. I got to ride up there with my family tomorrow. We had a cousin pass away, and I'm going to go to his funeral on Sunday, but I will be in the area, kind of ironically, I guess.
Yeah, sorry to hear about this.
Sorry.
First off. Thank y'all.
Yeah, the Pocket, that's a place that I've spent a little bit of time. Dayton is actually, I lived there for, I guess, not quite a decade. I met my current wife. My wife, Jordan, is from there, born and raised. Grew up there. I bet your dad knows a lot of her people because that's the area they grew up in. And I'm very familiar with that ranger that you're talking about. When I first started getting into this, the Pocket's one of the first places I went because I found that BFRO report about the man that saw the two of them up there. And I went and I talked to this ranger, this gentleman. I'm not going to give his name. I don't know his name. Even if I did, I wouldn't give it. But I asked him about camping up there, and he told me, all the procedures, everything you have to do to camp. And I said, well, what kind of critters do we have to look out for? And he told, well, raccoons. You tie your stuff up in a tree. There's bear and the normal critters. And I said, what about much taller, covered in hair critters? He got this serious look on his face, eyes about the size of a silver dollar. And he said, yes, they're in here, and I've seen them.
Wow.
He told me he's been screamed at, and he watched it walk up the ridge that was directly across from us, and he had some rocks thrown at him. So
very same guy. Yep, that's what he told me.
Yeah.
Friendly guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Very friendly guy.
Yeah, that's on my my list of places I want to camp. Have y'all ever camped there?
I did with my dad and a fellow named Nathan Davis. We went up there and camped one time. It is the most rugged camping I've ever done because you have to hike in so far to the campground.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of funny. When we went, they had a metal bridge that went across this creek, and I guess a tree had fallen on it or something. It was all bent up and twisted up. So we had our luggage, couldn't go across that. So we're crossing the creek, trying to get over to our camp spot. Nathan's like, here, Johnny, you go across and I'll throw your bag to you. So he throws his bag, goes right in the creek. And my dad, I think he had like swine flu pneumonia, something like that at the time. He was miserable, but it was a beautiful spot. We had, just the basic string between two trees and tube tent. And didn't really get any activity, so to speak. That you could see somebody far off in the distance that was squatting up there. You could see their fire reflecting up on one of the boulders. But man, it was a beautiful time down there. I'd like to go again at some point.
Yeah, yeah. One of the members of Manimal, Mr. Michael Smith, he and I are in talks of putting together a trip. But as you said, that's some rough camping up there. You got to pack pretty light because the closest there's two campgrounds if I remember right, and the closest one is 2 miles. And this is not 2 miles walking down the street. A lot of this area is
Oh,
a
no.
goat trail, going up the mountain. So
It was certainly a walk.
yeah, yeah, that's what the gentleman, the ranger there, told us. The closest spot is about 2 miles in. So you got to you got to want to camp there.
Well, yeah, man, go in sometime. Let me know if you get anything. I'd like to know if people still have things happen to them down there.
Absolutely, man. I sure will. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I actually have a friend that his name's Jim. I'm not exactly sure where he lives. I think it's up on top of one of the mountains over there. Uh, he said he's had some activity going down his trail. I think something threw a big old rock at him down there, and he's had an incident or two down there. I think I'm going to see him this weekend, and I could probably shoot the breeze with him about it and find out exactly where that's located.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. If you can get any kind of lead or anything like that, since I am a lot closer and you want somebody to check it out, I'd be happy to take a couple of my guys up there and check anything out.
I'll shoot the breeze with him, see what I can do.
Okay.
I just Googled that place and it's so beautiful. Like the pictures that came up on Google Images are just amazing.
If you search it up on YouTube, somebody took a high quality drone and they're flying it up the creek and they're flying it up around Buzzard Point. It's like the highest or one of the highest parts you can hike up there, and
Mm-hmm.
it's gorgeous. I highly recommend finding that footage.
Cool.
I'm gonna look for it. Elijah, if you got time after, send it to me.
I'll try to find that.
Okay. Okay. All right. Elijah, as you were saying, you spend a lot of time in the land between the lakes, and Bobby has talked a lot of us into making a trip up there. We're currently in talks of putting together a little trip to head up there, but kind of worried, man. There's a lot of talk of Dogman in that area.
Yeah, a general rule of thumb that you want to keep up is if you want more Bigfoot activity, stay toward the south. If you want Dogman activity, go further up north. The breaking point would be probably around the elk and bison prairie, although there have been, sparse incidents a little further below that. But that seems to be sort of the dividing line.
Yeah, we had Mr. Nick Valente on a couple of weeks back, and he's been up there, and that's exactly what he told us. The Dogmen stay more to the Kentucky side, and the Sasquatch seem to hang out more South Tennessee area. But man, them Dogman things, I don't know what to make of them. They scare the hell out of me. Have you had any experience with them? Have you had any instances that you believe could be related to a Dogman encounter?
Well, I haven't. I'll go ahead and say now I haven't visually seen one. I would love to, but I have not, had that highly coveted encounter yet. However, we went to a spot down there. I think it was 2019. I think it was 2019. It was right in the middle of summer. Sweating your faces off and whatnot. We're at the spot that we nicknamed Dark Hollow down there. It's closer to the middle, but a little further up, and it's around this creek. If anybody's ever heard of the bow hunter that was found in Land Between the Lakes dead, it's in that spot where he was found, where his body was found. And there was a encounter with a gentleman who was hunting for mushrooms. He was laying in his tent, and he seen one of those creatures walking through the wood line, and that's on Mr. Jody Cook's Beast of LBL documentary, if anybody wants to hear more about that. But we went down there because, it'd been seen there before and whatnot. So we decided to go down there and camp. Got our stuff, went down to the creek, and set up camp. Went across the creek, put a trail cam, and just got ready for nighttime. As night started to roll around, me and my mom, we kind of started complaining to Dad, hearing stuff in the distance, like that kind of sounds like barking in the distance, and he's like, "Oh, y'all just freaked out and kind of imagining things because we're in such a creepy spot." But as the night went on, things kind of seemed in a way to pick up because, well, let me branch off a little bit. As it got darker, all these cottonmouth snakes started coming out. There's like all these, I think, little frogs around the creek, and I'm sure they're coming out to, eat them. But we counted about 5 or 6 cottonmouths down there. And my mom, she didn't mind where we went to go hunt for Bigfoot or Dogman, but she drew the line at snakes, and I really can't argue with that. I hate a snake. I'm sorry. But so, we decided to not camp there through the night. However, I still wanted to stay there and do some research because, didn't want to leave. So we decided we sit around for a little while, sit and listen, see if anything happens. While we're packing up, my dad spots some orange eye shine on the other side of the creek. He's like, "Hey, boy, there's some eye shine over there. Let's go check it out and go get that trail cam." Get across the creek, had to pass up a coiled up cottonmouth right in the middle of the road. That was probably arguably most terrible part of the night. And we get across there, find out that the eye shine is a curious raccoon, lurking about. And, we're looking over there at it with the light and whatnot. I noticed that there's like an electric blue eye shine over there in the woods. And I asked my dad about that. He's like, "What? Where that really dark spot is?" And as soon as he said that, I don't really know how to describe this, but it was like a deep growl, deep grunt, just something made that sound and hit one of those trees, and it started just kind of swinging back and forth like that. We started backing away, had our trail cam with us, and we started backing away across the creek, past the coiled up cottonmouth, which was probably the worst part of that, and get back across the creek. And it was like, "Well, why don't we let's sit and listen and see what happens." So we're sitting around. We got all these tiki torches around, kind of giving the area that orange glow. We got fire all over the place, and we're sitting. And my dad's like, "Elijah, you still got that silent dog whistle?" "Well, yeah." "Go ahead and give a puff on it." I give a puff on the whistle. Nothing happens. Kind of didn't really sound like it was tuned right because you got to kind of twist the end and get it tuned right. So I give it a puff again, tuned differently. And 40 seconds later, it sounded like literally like a T-Rex coming through the woods at us, breaking limbs and branches, just destroying things coming through the woods at us. And if anybody wants to hear that audio clip on our video, Dark Hollow, it is in that. So you can hear it coming through the woods at us and us scrambling. But absolutely terrifying. And I think it had to have been something. I don't know what else would have been over there crashing through the woods. But, that was the point we decided to pack up and get out of there. The really hilarious part about it, though, is, this thing's in the woods over there. We're trying to get all of our stuff packed up. And we're putting out our little tiki torch canisters. Blow it out. And it's like one of those trick birthday candles. It keeps relighting. So it makes you stay there even longer. You have to pour water on it. And then go over to the wood line right against the woods where the sound came from, get back in the car. So that was probably our most active thing, most intense thing we've had happen down there. However, we have had we've heard a lot of things and captured recordings of something howling down there, which if anybody's familiar with Dogman Encounters with Vic Cundiff, he recorded a gentleman, interviewed him from Ireland. The story was something to the effect that he was over here from Ireland with 11 other guys on vacation, and I think it was North Carolina, and they seen a dogman over here while they were here, and they're staying in an RV, and from the inside of the RV, they recorded it howling, and exactly what they recorded is what we keep hearing down the land between the lakes, and we've recorded multiple times. Now, you hear it about between midnight and 4 in the morning, something like that. It's real late, but it's that there's definitely wolves down there. We've seen them. It's not wolves. It's not a coyote noise. It seems to be something different. It's a kind of an unusual sound, but we've heard that multiple times down there, over around where the family historically got attacked. We've actually got it recorded over at that Dark Hollow area, and we went over there last Halloween, and we heard it quite a few times. We took that audio clip of Vic Cundiff's and was call blasting it, and it was replying back and forth to that audio clip.
Oh wow! So you say that there are wolves in there?
There are red wolves down there. I actually did get to see a couple of those. We were going to that Dark Hollow area, and the family's like, "Look, there's wolves over there." Look over off in the field, a couple of red wolves. They're big, not a dog man or anything, but
Yeah.
there were two down there. I tried to get a picture of them and got some blur. I'm not sure if I caught them or not, but yeah, got the aftermath at least.
Yeah. Elijah, have you seen that picture of the 7 types of different variants of Dogman that's floating around?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I got a question here from an audience member. I'll just go ahead and pop it up. But I was wondering what you thought about that picture, if you agreed with those different types. And Tiffany is asking what variant of Dogman is in the LBL. Probably the meanest looking one with the longest nose.
Well, you got a bit of an awkward question there, because when people describe seeing it, a lot of people will describe seeing it differently. So one of the earlier encounters from 1979, Mr. Jody Cook talked about that in his documentary, of a Kentucky Fish and Game person seeing a dogman creature literally attack and kill a couple, and basically it was like a deathbed confession of his, he told. But he described it as having like a big mane, and it had more of a hyena-ish look to it, and about the size of a horse on all fours. And I've heard it before described as looking like the werewolf from, I think it was from Silver Bullet. I think I may have heard one before described like the werewolf from Bad Moon. Then you got, I'm sure everybody out there has seen the drawing that Barton Nunley did, that Jan Thompson seen, and it's something all its own. And there's a couple of descriptions down there, and then you have the people that say, oh, I seen a werewolf down there, so it's got to have a fairly canine look to it or something.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a really hard question to pinpoint there.
Yeah, and I'm not that familiar with Dogman. I don't know if you can have a couple of different types of variants in the same pack, or how that works. Or, I mean, Jody'd probably be the guy to talk to about that. I actually interviewed Jody, and he was telling me about people, like something or someone messing with his connections and his, I don't know. He was telling me about people interfering with his Wi-Fi and stuff, and we could not get through that interview. He kept getting kicked off. We had it scheduled a couple of times to come back on and try to finish, but I'm hoping to get that done. But you did talk about a bow hunter that was killed, and I'm not familiar with that story. Do you mind sharing that?
Yeah, so a rough summarization is that in that area, Dark Hollow, there's a gentleman up there doing some bow hunting, and people found his body dead in a soybean field. He was partially eaten upon, which it'd be easy to take that information and run with it, but there are coyotes, there's red wolves, and other critters around there. I'm sure there's big cats up there, so it could have been anything. The awkward thing about the bow hunter is that there's been supposed evidence that that he had maybe a heart attack, or I think it's even been said that somebody was down there with him and murdered him. So we're not sure that it was anything of a creature related nature. I even know a person who says that they talked to a park official and heard more details about his death. That he was, I think it was like that his body was dragged away like quarter of a mile from his tent, something like that.
Wow.
And if anybody wants to hear more about that, I think the only source I know of to direct people to is Kuhnbo. Tim Kuhnbo Baker has talked about it before.
Okay.
So that would be a way to look it up.
Okay. And Elijah, you had you touched briefly on the family that was killed in LBL. I'm sure you've been asked so many times to talk about that. Do you mind talking about that? Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, do you have any specific questions on it?
Well, yeah, you and your dad interviewed a fella that claimed to have been there. I haven't heard a lot from the aftermath of that. If anything else had come of that or not, it rocked the community. I mean, is that fair to say? I mean, everybody started
Honestly,
talking
yeah.
about that. Everybody started talking about that interview, and I've listened to most of it, and I just want to get your feelings if you can talk about it. What do you think about it? Do you believe what the man said? And just what are your thoughts?
Well, I guess I should give a little bit of background on Roger. He we were staying in, I think it's Christmas 2020. We went to an old state park that we used to like camping at. Ironically, is where we really got our start in Bigfoot hunting. They used to have the Chattahoochee Bigfoot Organization annual campouts there. And it's in Overton County, Standing Stone State Park. Beautiful park. So, we rented a cabin for Christmas time, went up there and spent Christmas. So, historically, whenever we'd go there as a little boy, there was no phone service down there. And you'd always have to drive to a certain point in the park, up the hill, and down the road to find signal. Got up there. It's like, wow, they got phone signal to the cabins now. There's TVs down here. This is amazing. And if everybody remembers, that bomb went off in Nashville and blew up that AT&T building. Lost all my service. So me and Dad are up there and, go back like we always did, find a spot with signal in the park. And I'm reading through comments on YouTube and I'm like, hey, Dad, there's a comment here. This guy's listening to some of these details this guy's got about Land Between the Lakes, the attack. And, this guy had a lot of unusual details, things we'd never heard before. And we decided to contact with him. And over the next little while, my dad texted with him back and forth. And, things kind of went from there. We interviewed him. And like you said, that interview rocked the community. It sparked like a civil war in the cryptid field. There's people that despise the man. There's people that love the man. And, just to briefly summarize his story as best as I remember, he said that when he was a little boy, about 15, I guess it's not a little boy, but, he was friends with the boy that was attacked with the family, and they were Amish. That's one of the reasons why there hasn't been any evidence found of that family, any like concrete evidence of who they were, was because they were Amish and they didn't keep a lot of records. But he was friends with the family, specifically the boy, and they all went on vacation to Land Between the Lakes. Got there, was getting set up, and the father and the little boy went out to go get some firewood, and Roger had a little, I think it was like a crack shot 410. It's been a while since I've heard his story, so I forget exactly which gun he had. But he had like some soup cans and he was going to go target shoot. And soon enough, the father and son start running up from the hill. And I guess something was after them. The boy started running inside. The dad went to the driver's side to grab a shotgun from out behind the seat. And one of these dogmen creatures got a hold of the boy. And I think he said it grabbed him like in an anaconda squeeze or something like that. And he aimed at it, shot at it, and some of the pellets actually got in his son but he shot like around the shoulder. It's either he shot at the shoulder of the creature or the pellets went into the boy's shoulder, one of the two. And I guess it let him go. The boy was dead. And then before he could rack in another shot, it was partially racked in. The creature came at him, grabbed him. I think he said it was grabbed him by the neck and he killed him. And about this time, Roger was there with his shotgun. He seen it walking away. He kicked the door open, shot it between the shoulder blades from about 15 feet out. And he said it made a noise, and that was like the only thing that he could tell that made him think it wasn't human. He gave an unusual detail that it looked like it was almost wearing like a tight, not fur, but like a tight hair suit. He told us that didn't look like fur, it looked like hair. But imagine like a tight hair suit. But the noise that it made when he shot it, that seemed to distinguish it away from being a person. It was like a high-pitched sound. And he said something like it kind of fell down, ran off, and he could hear, he dropped the gun, ran outside, and he expected the little girl and the mother to run out with him and follow him. He dove onto the ground, rolled underneath the RV, and grabbed onto the drive shaft and hid between the framework and whatnot and hid away from this thing. He thought they were coming out with him, and he could hear the little girl say, "It's coming in through the window." So that made us or him think that maybe there was a second one there. And, he held onto that drive shaft, stayed under there until things went quiet. And then he came out at some point, ran back to the main road. Excuse me. And he flagged down a truck that was passing by. I think he said it was a blue truck. And where he was at, I think the truck may have been in the direction of going towards Grand River, something like that. And flagged that guy down, got in the truck with him, and the guy took him to his house. Roger waited in the kitchen, and this guy went off and was on the phone with somebody for a good while. And then it was something like, after a certain amount of time, this car pulled up in the feller's driveway, and they took Roger back to the site and had him basically identify the area. And when he got back, that dogman creature was up in the tree. And the story is probably the most famous aspect is that the family was dead and massacred by this creature. And the little girl, they found clothes for a little girl, but they couldn't find her body. So they did a stakeout, and they found her body up in the top of a tree, dead, partially eaten. Well, the difference in Roger's story and something that he's always maintained to people is that it wasn't the girl who was dead up in the tree. It was this dogman creature dead up in the tree. And a little bit of an unusual detail was that it had a little piece of her, I think he said green sweater, I may be wrong, but it was like kind of caught in its claws. A little piece of her sweater was in its claws, but it was up there dead. And they took Roger away, and he went to a certain place, kind of a holding place for a few days, or somewhere to wait for family to show up and get him. And a family member of his took him back upstate. And that's Roger's story. And the general telling is basically different, but it's a lot ghastlier, a lot more gory. The family was torn up a lot more. And the biggest difference being the little girl was supposedly up in the tree.
Yeah. Now, I'm sorry, Lisa, you got something?
Well, I mean, I have like 3 questions. So if you've got like a shorter question, mine are going to be, I'm diving off into law enforcement. So if you've got a shorter question, I'm
go with it.
Okay. So here's my take, and I'm former law enforcement. When did this happen with the family?
Well, it supposedly happened in April 7th, 1982.
Okay.
Which it's kind of ironic. I'm sorry to branch off here, but it's sort of interesting. April 7th, historically, to my knowledge, was the day that Jesus died on the cross. So I don't know if there's any kind of a connection there. That was when supposedly the crucifixion happened.
Right. So with this family, so somebody had to come collect bodies. Somebody had to notify family. There has to be in that county some records. And even with the bow hunter, like with the bow hunter, when did that take place?
That was, I think, the bow hunter was like the early 2000s, like maybe 2001.
Okay.
If you want to know about details regarding documents, Jody Cooks told us for a couple of years that that he got to see the documents about the gentleman bow hunting, and I think he told us that it was the documents related it to a heart attack. Now, the interesting thing about LBL is that while there is creature stuff there, everything hinges on conspiracy over there. I'm not just going to come out and blame the park. You covered up all these deaths, but we have traced back to creatures attacking or making people disappear. At least 15 deaths or disappearances connected to creatures. And a law enforcement friend of mine, y'all are probably familiar with him. His name's Martin Groves.
I've heard the name.
He's counted the number to 18 or 19 before. So there's, if anybody is interested in the conspiracy aspect, there's definitely reason to suspect that the park covered up these things instead of letting details out to people. But you know, if you think about it, how many millions of dollars does Land Between make a year? How many millions of dollars would they lose if there was a werewolf going through their park?
And it's federal, right? Land Between the Lakes is federal. It's national forest. Is it federal park or?
It's actually considered a national recreation area.
Okay.
So not quite a national park. I'm not exactly sure how it's different, but they consider it a national recreation area.
To your knowledge, Elijah, are there records about that? Official documents about that incident?
None to my knowledge, but you know, that's not to say that there aren't.
Yeah.
But if they do exist, I haven't seen them, you know.
But the county, like in a situation like that, when you do have like mass casualties like that, even though it's federal land and they're going to have jurisdiction, the Park Service is going to have jurisdiction on that. The county sheriff's department is going to come swooping in there. The county coroner is going to come swooping in there. So there's got to be a paper trail somewhere.
You would hope.
Yeah.
Well, a little interesting detail in connection to what you're saying. I have a friend, and I've met with him a couple of times. He's former law enforcement. He swears to us that back in the day, he remembers seeing on TV a commercial, or no, I guess it wouldn't have been a commercial, but it was on the news. I forget exactly which, but it was something to the effect of he's seen on the news where they're talking about a Bigfoot killing people in Land Between the Lakes around that time.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know, he did his best to find it, but you know, records from back then, news records probably are spotty at best. And he did do a mighty amount of search into trying to find some sort of paper documents about that family, but as far as I know, he wasn't able to find any.
Right. I would think with the like I said, I would think with the coroners around that area, and even like, have y'all ever reached out to? I know, like in the county I live, the county coroner, it's elected office, and it's a funeral home director. So maybe reaching out to some of the old funeral homes around there, they know everything about every body.
That'd be a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One thing I can say for the area, you know, where this was supposed to happen, again, if you want to get into more of those conspiracy aspects, when you go up there, you can sort of tell that area used to be something. You can find what looks like old RV slips. There's old light poles that have been cut flush to the ground. Well, there's a little bit of stump coming out, but there's the old property boundary stakes, old water pipes. You know, have that kind of that reddish brown look, and you know how the national park color is kind of that reddish brown look, that their official paint. We even found some wood up there with that paint on it. It really has a look like somebody came through, cleared the land, and let nature retake itself. You can even walk the old roads back there. It has a look like there was old camping slips in there, and there's even concrete foundations over there and whatnot. So it's
have y'all
possible that it
actually
was something.
you actually investigated the area that it supposedly took place?
We've actually spent the night down there before.
Oh,
It can be pretty creepy down there at night. Now, this will get in connection with something you talked about earlier. There's a group, good friends of mine. Their organization is called Hellbent Holler. They go down there more than I do, doing great research. They'll, without fear, walk around those old trails at night, and they found a lot of cool stuff. Now, you're talking about balls of light floating around in the woods earlier. They were down at the site where that family got attacked, and they were getting all these kind of weird lights off in the woods, and they filmed it. You could see it almost looked like a flashlight turning on and off, and I think they said when they would go to it, it would just, they could never get to it. It would just disappear, but they're having something on their thermal imager, and everybody check them out if you get a chance.
I've seen them, that Hellbent Holler. I've seen them on Facebook. I thought about reaching out to them to see if I couldn't get them to come on for an episode. I might do that. Are you?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure
friendly
they'd
with
be happy to. They're great people.
Okay. So you're friendly with them? You know them, Elijah?
Oh yeah, yeah. Joe Doyle and Jesse Lee. They're awesome people.
So if I tell them Elijah Henderson sent me, that'd be okay?
I think they would be.
Okay.
I have a question. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, man.
No, I have a question on one of the things that I watched on your YouTube today. I was doing some research today. That cabin, that haunted cabin that you went to that was land between the lakes. Where is that at?
So that's roughly around where the Kentucky and Tennessee line is. I believe they call it the Will Flora Cabin. And where you get to it is you park against the road, and you got about like a quarter-mile, half-mile walk off into the woods through fields and whatnot to get to it. And when little backstory on it is I was at work. I recently changed jobs. I'm in the construction field now, but I was at Lowe's for about a year and a half, something like that. And, I was going about my day, and I got a message from an old friend of my dad's, and she was like, hey, my brother's friends went down to Land Between the Lakes the other night, and they had a lot of weird stuff happen. And I think she asked me something about dogmen, but it is a little while back. But basically, to summarize it, her brother's friends were up there camping, and about 3 a.m, something came through and kicked the door off the hinges. And there's snow all around on the ground at the time. They went out. There's no tracks in the snow, nothing like that. And I can personally verify this. When we went and visited that cabin, the screws are broke off in the door.
I saw that in the video. Yeah.
And it was a solid door, too. I mean, it shouldn't have done that. There's a part where the wood was pulled out of the door.
Yeah. If y'all haven't watched that video, y'all need to watch that video, because it's very, those screws were huge. Whatever kicked that door in. I mean, I've kicked some doors. It takes a lot to kick a door in, and those screws being broke off like that were just crazy.
And then, like, most of them to be snapped all at the same time. I mean, that's some force there.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Did you find anything? I mean, did you feel anything? Did you?
No, not really. There's a couple of people there, and me and my sister Gabby, we had some lunch on the steps and whatnot. I think I felt hot from the walk in because it is a little ways in, but yeah, I mean, it's a cool spot. I'd like to go down and do a Bigfoot Dogman outing, something like that. But yeah, the folks they would hear sounds outside. They heard it's either footsteps upstairs, because there's a spot where you walk in there and there's kind of a hole up in the ceiling. It's not quite an attic, but there is like a big gap up there.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was either that there was little kids giggling or it was walking up in that attic. But their dog they brought with them, it acted pretty terrified too, but they definitely didn't have a good night there.
Mm.
You know, anytime you hear little kids giggling can be the sweetest, most best sound you'll ever hear in your entire life, unless it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you're home alone and you don't have kids. You know,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
why is it? I mean, a sound that sweet and precious can be so terrifying in the wrong circumstance, you know?
I mean, I'm of the persuasion that everybody's different, but I don't believe in ghosts in the traditional sense. I believe in fallen angels or demon spirits masquerading as spirits of the dead, to deceive people. And if you think about it, when you hear all these little kids giggling, kids are viewed universally as a symbol of innocence, of purity, and whatnot. And if you have something dark and malevolent like that, giggling like little kids, it's kind of corrupting something innocent, and you're connecting something terrifying with that innocence and purity. And take the quote from Jesus, for example. I know I'm going to butcher this, but y'all will get the gist. Unless you are like one of these little children, you shall not inherit the kingdom of God.
Yep.
So it's just kind of an interesting connection there if you look at it through that particular lens.
Yeah, you think about the black-eyed children. I mean, those things, I don't think those are kids, but they're taking the form of children because you're not intimidated by little kids. You're not afraid of little kids.
They
You
can
know?
kind of get in there uh, without you suspecting them immediately.
Yeah.
Or lure you in. I mean, everybody wants to help a child. Everybody,
Exactly.
So I think to lure you in.
Elijah, we're coming up on an hour now, so we'll be getting out of here pretty soon. But I did want to ask where your favorite place to investigate is.
Well, I love going down the land between the lakes. I gab about it all the freaking time. Uh, but I have a bit of a soft spot, nostalgic spot for Werewolf Springs because, that park, Montgomery Bell State Park, I always went there as a little boy. And that was the first area where I had anything happen. And it absolutely terrified me. We had something, very, very short version. We were up there and a train went by and blew its whistle. And something howled back and replied like it was in pain. It sounded like an 800-pound wolf, but it was so loud you could feel it rattle and shake in your chest. And absolutely terrifying. But I wouldn't go into the woods for the longest time. After that, I definitely wouldn't go into Werewolf Springs unless my dad was present with me. But, I've gotten to the age now where I love going out in the woods. Around 15 or so, I like going out in the woods and, doing Bigfoot hunting and all that. And it's just kind of a very nostalgic spot for me now. I don't get to make it up there as often as I would like. But I can go there, remember all those family campouts. I can remember watching the documentary the park showed, The Legend of Werewolf Springs.
Yeah.
And just get a nice, all warm and fuzzies going up there.
Yeah. I definitely understand that. All right. Yeah, we've hit that hour mark just about. Elijah, you are just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to this stuff, man. And I feel like we just scratched the surface with you. So I'd love to have you back if you'd be interested.
Yeah, just send me a holler whenever you want me, man. We'll dish like a couple of gals on the Ricky Lake show.
We will certainly do that. All right, buddy. Let me thank you again for taking the time to come and hang out, and I'll let you get out of here, buddy.
Thank
My
you.
friend. It was nice to meet you, Lisa.
You
Y'all have a great
too.
night.
You too.
Thank you. Have a good one, buddy.
Have a good one.
Wow.
Just one of the best dudes in this field, in my opinion. And his dad truly was a very, very cool guy. I've never met anybody in the field that had anything bad to say about Johnny Henderson, and nor have I with Elijah either. I think he's a lot like his dad. Nothing.
That just went by so fast. I mean, because of just that land between the lakes. like I said, coming from Arkansas, I don't know a lot about that area. What was that area? I mean,
I
what
don't
was land between the lakes?
I don't know. That would have been a great question for Elijah. I don't know a lot about it either. I'm in, southeast Tennessee. I'm probably the furthest spot in Tennessee from that place that you can get. That's where I'm
Yeah.
at, probably. But I don't know. But I want to go up there. I say I want to go, but
Oh, I do too. I mean, I do too, but I want to go well armed. Lots of backup.
yeah, you're exactly right. All right, another one done. You got anything before we get out of here, Lisa?
No, like I said, that just that hour just every time I'm on here, I'm learning something new, and that hour just went really fast. So,
The good ones fly by.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
All right, thank you to the audience. Had a good amount hang out with us tonight. Not a whole lot of questions, but a lot of activity.
Oh
And
yeah, I think everybody. I was keeping track of the chat, and I think everybody was just like so engrossed in what he was talking about. And I know I'm going to be doing a deep dive. I'm going to try to track some records down on the bow hunter and that family. There's
yeah,
got to be some records somewhere.
something there's got to be something there. And I didn't get a chance to let Elijah push his show, Cryptid Studies Institute, but y'all can find him here on YouTube. It's Cryptid Studies Institute. He's got right at 20,000 subscribers, so they're doing something right.
And so many good videos
A
on
lot.
there.
They
Just
do
so many good videos.
they do such a good job. They're like mini documentaries
Yeah.
that they put together. It's really, really well done over on the
Yep.
channel. So y'all check it out and give them a follow if you haven't done so.
Yep.
All right, man, let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here. Y'all have a good night.
Guys, y'all have a good night. Be good to each other. Be good to yourselves. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.